So since I last brought out a podcast, which was nearly 4 weeks ago, which is awful consistency from me, Jordan, I've been asking myself, what do you and Rhys McCabe at Airdrie have in common? Well, you're both 31, you're both player managers, and you've both played in the Challenge Cup final. Unfortunately, you didn't win your Challenge Cup final, but we'll just gloss over
Forget
that
about
for
that.
now.
Look at the team we
Yeah,
played, though.
we will. Don't you worry. We will get into that. Listen, mate, it's Friday. How's your week been? You ready for the wee trip over to Elgin tomorrow?
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Thanks, and it's nice to be on, Charlie. I appreciate you reaching out, and it's good to come on. Yeah, it's been another busy week. It's kind of never stops. I've got a 6-month-old daughter, and I've got a full-time job in Peterhead. Geographically, we obviously train in Dundee on a Wednesday night, so that breaks up the week. We train in Aberdeen on Monday. Although this stage of the season, we've actually broken it up, and we're going down the route of some yoga. So that's been fun and games this week. And yeah, looking forward to Elgin tomorrow. We've got three league games left, obviously, and then into the madness of the playoffs.
He's officially in the playoffs yet, or is it like the goal difference doesn't matter?
Yeah, we confirmed. No, we confirmed last week. East Fife got beaten, we won, so that confirmed us it would be in the top four. Obviously, we don't know where we're going to finish within that top four yet, but the challenge and the aim is to finish second. Obviously, we're leveling points with Dumbarton at the moment.
Aye, well, you and Ryan Strachan, though, the dream team. It's your coming up on your paper anniversary as well. Actually, soon. Are you sick of him yet? Is he nagging too much already, or he's still going nice and smooth?
I think, of course, we have our differences. You know, you throw Jamie McNee in that mix as well. He's a young coach we brought on board last year. He's had his own experiences at the likes of Kelty and Queen of the South and Brecon. So no, we've got a good bond there. If I said we agreed on absolutely everything, I'd be lying. But I think that's the way we need to be. Going back, me and Ryan go way back. Kind of, you know, we both came through full time at Aberdeen. He was just actually leaving as I was coming full time. And then when I came to Peterhead, I think it took me about a year to speak to Ryan. He's one of those characters who wouldn't speak to you unless you really know him. And then we ended up working together. So we worked together for day to day for 8-9 years. So then we both kind of left that company last year, and then we ended up co-managers. So yeah, it's funny. I've seen him every day for about 8 years, and then now I'm just have to speak to him every day now. Not quite see him.
You have to. Oh, that's the problem. You also enjoying getting to tell your wee brother what to do now as well. You know, just like back in the good old days. And that comes from a fellow older sibling, by the way, as well. So you know, I feel that.
Yeah, I think Jason, a major character and a major leader in our dressing room. I think as loud and as aggressive and everything he wants to be, does, to be fair to him, he takes on board, and I'd like to think he listens to us. Yeah, I think he also worked with me and Ryan, and Ryan was kind of his boss at work for a while, so it worked in quite well, the transition into where we're currently at.
It's interesting. It all seems to be work, you know, but listen, as we like to do here on this show, we just like to go back to the start, you know, take us all the way back to the beginning, growing up in the Northeast, and then maybe even just tell us a chain of events that would lead up to you signing what I presume as well for you was a dream contract when you were young.
Yeah, definitely. I think I had a bit of a different journey. I think from under 12s, I think as far back as I can remember, I was involved at Aberdeen, training wise in that, but was never officially signed. And for me, that kind of allowed me to get the best of both worlds. I played for a boys club up here, one of the top boys clubs, Albion Boys Club. We reached Scottish Cup finals at under 14 level. Unfortunately, got beaten that one as well. I think it was by Blue Brazil at the time or something, and that wasn't just Cowdenbeath. It was a boys club. But playing, that was like at Excelsior Stadium, you know, in Airdrie, and that was massive for us at 13-year-old. We were getting to play at one of the big stadiums at that time. And then it wasn't until I think under 15s, just after that cup final, and during that time as well, I managed to play for my school and my school selects and that. So as you'll know, like, that's difficult to do now, especially when you're playing in a full-time academy or you're signed to an academy. You're not allowed to do any of this stuff. So I feel I got the best of both worlds. Then under 15s I signed with Aberdeen, and I think at the time it was under 15s, and under 17s then it went to under 19s. So obviously progression was there. I luckily, again, and I'm a November birthday, so I stayed on at school, done 5th year, managed to get my 5 hires, and also focus on football that year at under 17s and give myself a wee bit of a fallback. But yeah, fortunately, like you said, I managed to secure a dream contract at the time and signed full-time with Aberdeen. Yeah, when I must have been 17, 18 at the time. 17 I would have been, I think. And went full-time just in that under 17, under 19 transition. Neil Cooper was our youth team manager, and we're lucky now. It's unique. I think you would see we've went to our Cove teams and quite a lot of Peterhead now. We played together, and some of the other boys who went higher and done that from that group. We had a really, really strong group. Mark McGee was the first team manager at the time, and then obviously it was Craig Brown, and then at the end of my time at Aberdeen, my 4-year full time, it was Derek McInnes. So yeah, I think playing under these guys and or not so much playing under these guys, but learning and seeing the environment under these guys was great.
Yeah, I know what you mean, like, about playing for the school team. I played for 8 minutes, and that counts added on time, actually. It was in an absolute hurricane up in East Kilbride. I think the best stadium I played in was up in Peters Hill in Glasgow, where Glasgow City play.
Yeah.
Played at Ashfield as well, where I made a mistake 8 seconds into the game, and we went on and scored. And I think that was the beginning of the end of my very illustrious 1-year football career, which I retired at the age of 13 at. You mentioned there. Listen, it was great. I play 5-a-sides every week now, so that was how I got into the school team, because I think because it was a cup game, they weren't allowed to take 4th years up. So they had like 2 subs. So Mr. Lyons, my teacher, I was like, "Sir, I've been saying I play 5s every week," and he's like, "Aye." And I'm like, "You needing players for this afternoon up at St Andrews St Bride's?" And he's like, "Have you got boots?" And I'm like, "I live 5 minutes away, sir." And he's like, "Aye, go on then." It's actually my dad's school as well, but it just so happened his phone wouldn't download a software update, so I couldn't tell him that his son was playing in his back garden. But anyway, you said there about Craig Brown.
Very competitive as well, is it not? The 5-a-side's very competitive, though.
Listen, everybody always says to me, "I was like, playing against old heads and all that," because it's all the guys that my dad used to play with about 10 years ago before he did something to his knee. But I'm like, you need to come along for one and realise it's like a basketball game. It's crazy. But I wanted to ask about Craig Brown, though, because the late great Craig Brown, of course, probably best known for his time as Scotland manager, and the way that we always see Scotland and just international football in general is that maybe the management style isn't as tactical, and you can't employ as much of a system as Pep Guardiola can, over a season with Man City. And it's maybe more about maximising the players and motivating the boys. Would you say there was maybe aspects about his game that you thought, aye, he absolutely did manage an international team, bearing in mind what I've just presumed about it?
Yeah, 100%. I think when you look back, it probably isn't until you look back on these things, especially the age I was at that time, it's difficult to take it all on board or see what you know now and see what the position I'm in now, and you think back to a lot of things Craig done, and I can't speak highly of him. It helped that he really liked me. I'm not sure if that's just because we shared the last name, but he really did. He was great for me. When I went on my first loan to Forfar under Dick Campbell, and he kind of sorted that out. So I was going from playing from Craig Brown to Dick Campbell and that kind of character and huge characters in Scottish football. And then I unfortunately done my cruciate, so I missed a year. But seeing that year I was out, like, Craig Brown was absolutely brilliant, and he extended my contract. And by the time I came back, he had me involved in the first team. He gave me my debut at Kilmarnock in 2011. Gave me an extended contract for 2-3 years there. So again, that was all a dream. And to look back now, like how he was with us, and probably not just me, as a young boy, but how he kind of galvanised Aberdeen a bit, because at the time probably struggling a bit, and under Mark McGee, and he came in and managed to stabilise the club slightly, and then it showed right until until he left, and then he became a kind of ambassador at the club or whatever he was, a director, and really at the heart of a lot of things the club done. But no, I can't speak highly enough of him. He even reached out to me all the time. Even when I remember, like, every time I'd bump into him, he would ask me how I'm getting on. And I think we played Ayr United one day, and I think that's his kind of local team, and we're playing at Somerset, and he was texting me saying, "Watch the game today." And I think I actually scored twice that day. That was when Ayr were in League One against us at Peterhead, and we were kind of going up, and he texted saying, "Look, different class, best player on the pitch," kind of thing. So things like that, to get it from Craig Brown, and looking back now, that was obviously with him not being here with us anymore. Looking back, them things are special and great memories.
Yeah, he was a wee bit before my time in terms of management. I knew his name and all that, but because I was a ball boy at Hampden, I was there for all the silences that they had for him, and the kind of commemorations. And I knew him, but that's quite nice to hear, actually. It's really nice to hear that, from somebody that was very much under his wing. He said there Derek McInnes as well. I presume you had quite a short relationship with him. Did you not leave quite?
Did, to be fair, yeah.
Have you got anything to say about him?
Mentioned Derek. Yeah, at the time, I think at the time where I was coming back from a cruciate injury. I'd made my debut under Craig Brown. but wasn't quite ready for first team Aberdeen football. And the squad was quite an experienced squad at the time. So again, I went back out on loan to Forfar at that time. And as I went out to Forfar, again, I was coming back from a cruise ship, like I said, and we were doing really well. The Forfar team I was playing in reached the playoffs of League One, and it was really strong. Dick had brought a real good group, and I was probably the youngest one in that group. So I mean, I wasn't playing every week, but it wasn't a disaster. I was coming on every week, and I think obviously that was the time that Derek came in and replaced Craig Brown as manager just to end that season. So again, all I could really do was train well when I was in the week with Aberdeen. I think he came and watched me one game. I think him and Tony Dock came and watched me, and we're playing Albion Rovers at Clifton Hill. So it probably wasn't a great advert for me to try and show them that I was worthy of being part of the squad. And look, that's football. I think looking back, I wouldn't have been where I am today if I didn't leave Aberdeen at that time. I had 2 years left in my deal. So I stepped away from that at the time. And yeah, I stepped away from that and then obviously signed with Peter. Again, he's one that it's funny, you go around that full cycle, and being a manager now, we're having to speak to guys like even Dick Campbell, playing against Dick even. Derek phoned him at the start of the season, looking into loan players and stuff, and he was brand new, so it's good to have that contact.
Yeah, I was what you asking about, because as much as you'd said that under Mark McGee the club was maybe struggling a wee bit and Craig Brown came in and stabilised, still had a pretty good team though. You had your guys like Considine and Hartley, and you were even coming up with guys like Fraser Fivey and Joe Shaughnessy, who he went off injured through the week against Rangers, didn't he? But I want to ask though, when you're a young player coming through at such a big club like Aberdeen, and it's your first professional gig, and you come into this professional environment, is it a wee bit kind of inhibiting? Does it kind of intimidate you a wee bit, or for you did it egg you on a wee bit? I know you spent a good bit of time out on loan, but for you when you were in that environment, did it push you on?
Yeah, I think it 100% pushed you on. That's just what you're kind of driven into, from when you play with Aberdeen. I think you were always looking at every age. We were looking to. Still there, yeah. I thought it was froze there.
Aye.
Yeah, that age, you're driven to compete with Celtic and Rangers from a young age, and you're always looking to challenge at that top. Obviously, Hearts and Hibs, probably the other two at the youth levels you're looking to compete with. And there's always a team. I think it was St Mirren when we were young. They had Kenny McLean, who was in our youth teams at times as well. Was at St Mirren, they had a really good team. So you've always got these teams, but you've always, I think it's built in you want to compete at the top. And obviously, like I say, the time we were coming through, it was maybe difficult because the club was struggling, but you're right, the squad was still decent there, and like I say, the amount of players in our youth team that you could talk through, we'd be here all day, speaking about the success they've had. You're obviously Ryan Jack, still close mates with him. 5E is one. Mitch Megginson, who's done really well. Ryan Fraser, Clark Robertson, Joe Shaughnessy, Nicky Lowe. The list's like endless, it's really unique looking back and even seeing these guys and how they've progressed. Jack Grimmer's another one still playing in England every week. So. It's a really good group, and in a way, I wish we kind of had a better chance as a group, But it's always difficult. I fully understand for managers, it's difficult to just say, look, there's your going to play the under-19s or under-21s for a period and stick with it. It's hard at a club the size of Aberdeen.
Yeah, could have had a wee Dundee United from a few years later on when they fielded all their young boys and ended up. Really well. They should have won that Scottish Cup as well, but
they should have. Yeah.
I wanted to also then ask about your loan spell, and what sort of factors then does somebody that I know I did talk about my illustrious career, but as somebody that didn't quite make it to the professional level, what sort of factors go into, especially a loan spell to a lower league club that we maybe overlook? Because you look at all the top deals these days, guys are just going for money, and who's going to pay them the most? Yeah. For you, going from Aberdeen to Forfar, what did you really need to think through?
Yeah, it was great. I think, and again, football has changed. It's changed a lot since the COVID in 2020, never mind the last 10 years to when I was full-time, 10, 15 years. So I think at that time, it was all about just playing games, and playing senior games was so important. Like I always had such a determination to make my debut for Aberdeen and the senior debut. And then obviously going out to Forfar was a big learning part of that. Unfortunately, mine was cut short after a couple of games because of my cruciate injury. But I think the factors were just games, and at the time, me, Nicky Lowe and Joe Shaughnessy all went out at the same time, and so to have the three of us there in our first ever kind of loan spell out with in the big bad world of first team football, under someone like Dick and some of the players that we had there as well, we had like your Stevie Crawfords and all that were playing, was captain of the team, and right good players. I think that was the biggest surprise, was how good the quality was, and I think since that day, the quality in the lower leagues has only improved. You just need to look at some of the players that are playing in our leagues now, and even look at our own team right now, we've got Peter Pollitt, So again, the quality is just improved since then.
It's just what I'm doing now. So like when it comes to trying to find guys to ask to like come on, I'm just going through the teams thinking, I do mind his name for 10 years ago. He was playing with Dundee United, but now he's at the bottom of the league. But it's all right. It's fine. I'll still ask him. You still have some all right stories to tell.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
You just said there about Dick Campbell though, and the character that he is. It was somebody that when Stuart Petrie was on, he could have spoke about him the whole time. He didn't have enough good things to say about him. Is there anything that maybe unique experiences, stories you've got about him, insights he gave you, just to supplement really what Stuart said about him? Because the guy just knows how to entertain, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think looking back, I wish I remembered more, because again, I was younger. I was 18-year-old at the time. He took me twice. He was great with me when I'd done my cruise ship. I'd rehabbed the whole 9 months at Aberdeen, and then ended up going back to Forfar, like I said. So I had him twice, and I wish you wish you could bottle some of that moments or video some of that moments. I think I remember we played. Like I say, we got to playoff semi-final. We're actually really unlucky. We beat Dunfermline 3-1 the first leg, and we actually ended up losing the second leg 6-1 at East End, but we had 3 men sent off. That was another long story. But the team talk before that was incredible. I remember we were in a hotel before the game, and he preached about the whole of Forfar being there, even the animals and whatever else. Everyone in that was there, and look, there was numerous things about Dick. And then obviously through the years dealing with him, again going full circle, dealing with him last year, we signed a player from Arbroath in the summer, Kieran Shanks. So dealing that side of it, and then obviously just recently, a couple of weeks ago, playing against Dick, as a manager against him, was a joy, and watching him literally from side by side, and then having that conversations after the game. He's always, like I say, he's always been brand new to me, and we won't see many more of the old school type, I don't think, than Dick and the character that he brings with that.
Just him and his big booming Dunfermline accent as well.
And some of the one-liners, like he would say, time to work, time to play, and some of the words I probably could use here that would maybe be a bit inappropriate, But his team talks, all that kind of stuff. It's just unique, and I don't think you would get it nowadays, to be honest. From someone that's coming through in this modern game.
Yeah, there was I was trying to find it recently just because of how entertaining the wee clips were. But do you know on like Twitter and TikTok, you get those no context pages? Probably the Eddie Hearn one is probably the most popular, the most famous one. Somebody made a no context Dick Campbell one.
They're not there anymore.
I just thought it was so well. It's probably it's either no context or out of context, and I couldn't mind what one it was. Because there's even just ones that have on like podcasts and going smooth operator and that sort of stuff. It's like this. There's a guy in his late 60s at the time.
It's unbelievable.
Living life. What a guy.
I think he obviously had health issues as well, and he came through all them. But like every summer, it doesn't stop him going to Magaluf with his brothers and half the team he's with. So I don't know if that's still a tradition for him, but it was back then.
Well, all my dad's side of the family are all East Fife fans, so I think they're certainly enjoying his reign already. Actually, speaking of his brother there, then was there maybe some things that you took from him in terms of the relationship that he was able to have with his brother, football wise, and the fact that you and your brother are in a setting now, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so. I think like you say, like I said earlier, I think looking back, you wish you could remember more, about the times and about all the managers and all the unique stuff they had underneath them and the staff they had underneath them. But I think Dick and his brother's a good example. They've obviously been a successful team within football, and successful to say the least, especially what they've done with Arbroath in recent years. So there's definitely that relationship there, and just the whole camaraderie between his management team, and it's something that obviously if you can replicate that kind of camaraderie and togetherness within the team, then I suppose having a brother there is not a bad start.
No, certainly not. Peterhead though, I mean, you were at Peterhead though a good wee while before now, so you've had a wee bit of history with them. Jim McInally, your knight in shining armour, you let down those golden locks, Jordon, and there he was there to save you. It was your first full time, well, not full time. It wasn't a loan spell. It was a permanent transfer. That's the word.
Yeah.
What for you then was the lure of Peterhead, going from Aberdeen to there?
I think it all happened quite quickly, to be honest. Like obviously leaving Aberdeen geographically up here, as you know, everyone thinks it's a million miles away, apart from Inverness. But there's not too many clubs around here, that's full time. Obviously, Cove have reached that levels or almost that levels in recent years. But at the time, we're talking 2013. I'd left Peterhead. I was 18 year old, I was 20-year-old or whatever I was. Like not really sure what I wanted to do, you know. So when I left Aberdeen, it obviously was a bit of a bombshell because I had 2 years left of my deal, but there was no real rush there because I did have the 2 years left of my deal. So I went down to Hamilton for a week actually and trained with them, and Alec Neil was the manager at the time. And again, looking back at the success he's has the manager now, you know, it's funny that you went and I went and had a small relationship with him down there and played under, or not played under him, but trained under him. And yeah, it just wasn't right for me. And down there, I was going to have to move away. You know, money wasn't the be all and end all, but it wasn't probably going to be good enough to see me go to the next stage of my career or live down there, etc., or relocate. So yeah, I just came back up in Peterhead. Again, I got a couple of local guys here that I knew, and guys that are still at the club now, like Natty Porter, who was the general manager or the kind of community guy for a while. I went up and went along to training, and kind of the rest is history. Like, went to training, and Jim, being Jim, like, who was absolutely, like, again, couldn't speak highly enough of him for what he'd done for me. Basically came in and he said, look, you're not on trial with us, you know, we're on trial with you, kind of thing. And it was kind of going both ways. Played against Ross County, I think, was my first game, and we beat them 2-1. And I think at the time Ross County would have been in the Premier League, and it was at Balmoor. It was a beautiful day. And again, he even said to the press that day, I remember it quite well, like, look, Jordan's here, but look, we don't expect to kind of get him. He can come if he kind of wants. Like, but he's having a look at us, kind of thing. And then he offered me a deal that day, and I think from then there wasn't really anything else in my mind. You know, I was going to still live at home in Aberdeen and play with Peterhead, and also allow me to go my kind of professional career, as in work career, go on to something there. So yeah, that was how that kind of came about. And then I knew some of the guys there. Obviously, Ryan was there, Scott Ross was there, Rory McAllister was there, who I didn't actually know at the time, but I'm now really close with still. Jamie Redmond was there. So there was guys there, and a couple came alone from Aberdeen that season. And obviously that first season, it paid off because we won the league, and it was just brilliant. I probably never had as successful a season as I expected that first year on a personal point of view, but again, the whole experience of winning a league. And I think, to be fair, I think my season peaked in the second week. I just signed for them on the Saturday, and we played Aberdeen in a friendly. I'd always played Aberdeen every year, and it was always packed. You know, it felt like a proper game. It was before the kind of Betfred or Viaplay or whatever you want to call it, cups. And we played them, and there was about 3,500 at the game. Full strength Aberdeen. I think you had Scott McKenna, you had Shaughnessy, you had Ryan Jack, you had Barry Robson, Al McGinn, Johnny Hayes, all these boys, and these boys who were just teammates of mine a month before, you know. So it was really unique. And obviously Derek McInnes had just released me as such, or let me go, kind of thing. And we won. We went 3-0 up after half an hour, and I'd scored twice. So it was like absolutely like unique and special night in front of all my family and that. And then after the game, like, the congratulations I got from McInnes and Tony Dock and Reynolds and Russell Anderson, all these guys that were brilliant at the time with me. So yeah, that was such a high that night, and to have that again, it sounds daft now, because now I would look at friendlies as just friendlies, you know. But at the time, it was such a meaningful game where I thought, you know, like, this is my time to prove, you know. And I probably wish, like I say, I had a better personal season, but I would never change it for what happened that night. And then obviously, as the season progressed, we won the league, which was amazing.
So you've just got a wee bit of an agenda against South Lanarkshire. That's what it is. How dare you?
Yeah.
No, you have been very blessed to have had quite a number of, you know, either very good managers or very high profile managers. Now that you are a manager, and I know I maybe do come back and use that line a lot, you know, compare it to now, but
yeah,
are there wee things that you've taken from them individually that you implement into your day-to-day running of the club?
Yeah, 100%. I think, like I say, you try and take as much from, I think when I'm on all these courses, you know, I'm on a B licensed course at the moment, like, the best things you can do is take from everyone, you know, ideas and implicate them in your own way, of course, and put your own stamp on it. But yeah, you look back and it's crazy, really. Craig Brown, Derek McInnes, Dick Campbell, Jim McInally, Davy Robertson was most recently another big kind of name in Scottish football. All these guys that have, you know, Mark McGee as well. Like, it is a bit crazy when you look back at all these that I've picked up on. And yeah, I try to take bits of it, of course you do. But as I say, football's evolving and it is changing at a rapid pace constantly, especially in recent years. So yeah, you try and combine what they kind of had. And obviously you can watch things online like podcasts now. You can watch people speak. You can see so much more. So it's interacting, all that kind of things. And yeah, it's great, really. And like you say, yeah, it's important that you take from personal experiences as well as just kind of listening to, obviously, the world leaders or elite leaders within the game.
Yeah, I'd never discourage anybody for not listening to this podcast on the basis that I need the views, but I now really hope none of the League Two managers are listening to this. Then, Jordan, this is it's an hour's worth of homework for them. You spoke about your league title. I'm sure that, like you said, one of the peaks of your career. Just tell us about the day that it was confirmed, the run into it and the aftermath as well.
Yeah, it was special, actually. It was really special and unique, and it's one that I do remember back what we would be now. We were actually it was 10 years last Friday, I think, that we done it, so it was that wee anniversary of it. I remember the day really well. Went down to play Clyde, and it was kind of unexpected because we're going toe to toe with Annan. I think we still had 3 or 4 games left, 4 maybe. But we knew it was a mathematically possibility that day, but we didn't expect it to be, because I think they were playing at home or away to East Stirling, who were struggling at the bottom of the league, and we were playing Clyde away, which was at the time, or still would be a tricky one. But yeah, I think being at Clyde, it was special as well, because it was probably the best ground in the league at the time, out with Balmoor, of course, playing there. And yeah, we won 2-0, and I just remember like Peterhead had a big falling down that day as well. I played 90 minutes, kind of had a big hand in the first goal, and I think it was fitting Andy Rogers and Rory McAllister scored, because they were both the kind of talismanic guys for us that year. And yeah, I remember looking up at the crowd, because we had quite a big fall, and I talked about big falling, but you're saying 500-600 maybe from Peterhead, which is a lot of the time, to take to an away game. And my old man was there, my dad was there with my grandpa. My grandpa passed away recently, so I always think back to that day where you're looking up and they're all kind of cycling down, like Annan's getting beat, and you kind of feel it real. And then I think we went 2-0 up at the time, and then with 5 minutes to go, we gave away a pen. And then Graham Smith, who was a goalie for us at the time, who'd obviously been who's had a huge career at Rangers, he was backup goalie there and was on the bench in the UEFA Cup final at the time against Zenit and stuff. So he was a big player for us, and he saved the penalty. So again, that immediately put the panic away, and then it was just a case of seeing that out and at the final whistle. And yeah, the days that followed were interesting. I think I made it on the bus on the way back up, but being the young one in the group, which sounds crazy at the time, I think I well and truly reached my peak on the Saturday night and missed the whole Sunday sesh, so it was good.
That makes it all worth it. It was one of the boys, because it was his last day at school yesterday. If Darren Young has listened this far in, by the way, then this maybe isn't great, but he plays for Stirling Albion, and he was saying I was meant to be in at 8 o'clock last night because I've got a game midday, and I'm like, it was worth it. But anyway, not to bring you down now, Jordan, but I'm going to allude to that part that we talked about in the intro. The cup final loss to Rangers, which I'm sure isn't, a big, huge disappointment for you in your career, because taking Peterhead to a cup final against Rangers, that must have been something else. Just talk us through that. Give us the ins and outs and everything about that.
It was so unique. I think obviously I just missed Rangers the year that I signed for Peterhead. Rangers were promoted from the 3rd division, so I came into Peterhead just as they missed Rangers. It was a big disappointment for the club, because obviously following Rangers up the league, I think Rangers won the league, Peterhead were beating the playoffs, so missing that year of revenue, etc., was a disaster for the club. So then the next year winning the league, and then we actually had a solid season, first season in League One the season after, and then I think 2015-16 was our massive season. We were excellent, we had such a strong squad. And yeah, we right from the first minute of that season, we beat Brecon 3-0 away in the first round of that cup, which obviously started the run to the final of that, to get to that final. I scored twice that day. It was a beautiful summer's day. It was, we won 3-0. The next week we actually got drawn against Rangers in the League Cup, which was again massive. I think it was Warburton's first game. So I think that was extra motivation for that start of that season, already being drawn against Rangers, which again was huge for myself personally. Like my whole family, my dad's side are Rangers, and my grandpa I just mentioned. So for them to see me play at Ibrox was special. I think we played them on a Sunday. We got beat 3-0 that day as well, but that was my first kind of experience of that. So I think having that at the start of the season was massive towards what was to come in that season. And like you say, I never look at it as a disappointment, although I'll probably get to that in a sec, the one disappointment I had within the game. But I think the big one for us was the semi-final. We played Queen's Park. It wasn't that. Before that, we had a good run. I think we beat Brecon, like I said. We beat, I think it was Stenhousemuir. Stenhousemuir or Falkirk we played. Falkirk away was the big night, and we were 3-1 down at the time on the night. Or we were 2-0 down, 3-2 up, 3-3, 5-3, and Rory scored all 5. So it was just one of those nights that was incredible night, and we didn't think it would get much better than that, to be honest. And then we got a good draw, and I think it was quite Steny after that, and then we got Queen's Park in the semi-final, who at the time I think they were in League 2 and we were in League 1. So again, and we knew the chances of getting Rangers in the final, it was a one in a lifetime kind of chance in a national final, and there was rumours of it going to be at Hampden, etc. Because normally these ones, as you know, are held at an Falkirk or an Airdrie or whatever, even McDermott Park or Livingston or something. So it was just brilliant. So our real success was getting to that final, and we won the semi 2-1 at Hampden in front of 1,000 people, and then it got us to the 50,000 mark against Rangers, which that build up, I think we qualified for it in the start of December, and the final wasn't until April, so it was just amazing, that whole build up, and I think that really got the best out of us. We went on some run. I think we were 20 odd games unbeaten in League One, and we're pushing Dunfermline all the way for the league. But then fell just short and ended up finishing third behind Ayr, and it kind of derailed after the final. But I think the final itself, it was so special. We're down for the whole weekend. Obviously, McAnally's got his contacts at Celtic. We trained at Lennoxtown or Barrowfield at the time. One of them, I can't remember what one it was. On the Saturday, stayed the Saturday night. He just normalised everything. Jim's super laid back and never made a big deal of things like that. And getting police escort to the ground, seeing the fans, seeing the family. And then starting the game was special for me. That was my target from the December, and I started the game and ended up playing 90 minutes in the game. And I think, that one bit I mentioned, I think we went, the goals, if you look through the goals, we scored an own goal after 15 minutes, which was unlucky. It was our defender, Ali Gilchrist, who was on loan from St Johnstone at the time, made a slide tackle, and it's ended up going in the net. The second one was Taverner's goal that people still talk about, the volley at Hampden, he rattled in from 30 yards, on full volley. And then right before half-time, we had two really good chances. Scott Ross had a header off the line, and playing with Rory for so long, I just knew Rory was always, if he's seen a chance, especially at Hampden, I thought he was going to lash one across the goal and shoot, but he actually got in behind, and I'm in the box supporting him, and he went to square it, and I just was about a yard, missed it by a yard, and we still speak about that to this day. It was a tap in at Hampden that I just couldn't quite get there, and then the two goals were late after that. So no, I think, like you say, I don't think we see it as a sore day. I think it's one of those that was super surreal, live on telly, 50,000 people at Hampden. Not a lot of people in the lower leagues anyway can say that they had that moment, and against a team like Rangers as well, and like I said, there was a slight personal touch to it as well, with my dad's side of the family being from Glasgow and that kind of side of it. So unique, and something that we'll always remember, and the club will always remember as well.
That's what I was going to say there. I was thinking, North East Rangers fans, that's a highly treasonous act up there. Don't worry. The first, going back to my own football career, the first ever game that got played for the club, I think we were down 24 now, maybe 24 now, something like that. It was definitely beyond double digits. I missed an open goal because I decided I was wanting to go across it with my left foot when it gets squared to me, as opposed to let it run onto the right and pass it. That still keeps me up at night about however many years later. Aye. Well, we were talking about even just the supporters that had come down for the away game at Clyde there, and of course having the fans down at Hampden.
Yeah.
Then now he's the best home team in the league. He's only the fifth best away team though, which I find funny. You're top of the league and you're actually mid-table.
Yeah.
So on average, 3.5% of the town come out to see you every week.
Okay.
And from a manager and players' perspective though, especially at a club like Peterhead, it's not as if you're a Partick Thistle but you're in Glasgow.
Yeah.
You're out there by yourself pretty much.
Yeah.
How integral is the support and the community, to yourselves really on the pitch?
Huge. It's absolutely massive, and I think that's what's been so unique about me and Ryan. We're embedded in the club. We've been there. I think we both reached milestones last weekend. It was my 300th game, and it was Ryan's 350th. So 750 games for the club combined. You've got Rory in there who's above 300 as well. Scott Ross 250 plus. My brother's played over 200. So see having that uniqueness and local boys as well. I think we've got Danny Strachan who's a key figure of our team now, and he's from Peterhead, so the whole community can get on board with that. And there was a big sway when Jim was here, and it was needed. At one time, it was right down to maybe me, Jason, and Rory that were the only ones from Aberdeen or the North East. The rest of the team were from down south. So I think we managed to swing that back. And like you say, the support's massive. If you said 3% there, I'd love to get it to 30% of the town coming out to see us. But I think the sport we can't follow.
Need a bigger stadium then.
Yeah. I'll speak to the chairman. I think it's massive, and I think we've done that this year. After the disappointment last year, I think the engagement, the fan engagement, and the support's been excellent. And I think it's shown that in the figures. I think average maybe about 700, which is definitely up on what it was last year, and I think it could get even higher than that. But the community, they've just set up a community fund as well, a community kind of department at the club as well. So all that stuff's massive, and hopefully it continues to build.
Yeah, I was wanting to then ask, because you almost had a wee Cove Rangers sandwich there in terms of Peterhead. You were Peterhead, Cove Rangers and back.
Yeah.
How important would you say your first stint at Peterhead was in comparison to now? Would this season have went any different for any differently for you, do you think, if you hadn't had your first stint at Peterhead?
Yeah, I don't think I'd be in this position I'm in now if I hadn't played for Peterhead when I left Aberdeen, and played for Peterhead for that long. I think a very loyal club. Like the guys behind the scenes are amazing, and it's generally similar guys that behind the scene with the odd change out every year. So yeah, I think without that first spell, I wouldn't be where I am now, and I'm sure Ryan would say the same. He was slightly different. He went on loan at Peterhead from Aberdeen initially, and then ended up signing. So yeah, I think. But again, having that at Cove, I don't think I mentioned Paul Hartley earlier, but it's another manager I played under, with massive experience within the game. So being there as part of that, although it kind of never worked particularly well under him for myself at the end. However, playing and having that experience away from Peterhead and a part-time, like you say, Peterhead was all a new part-time, Jim McInally was all a new part-time. So having that difference for a few years definitely helped.
Yeah, speaking about Cove Rangers, Paul Hartley, for example, I'd like to call you a pioneer and an adventurer, somebody that's really pushing the boundaries of what we thought management was possible. Not only are player managers or co-managers rare, but you've combined the two here. So
yeah.
I think that's impressive, and not to give you like Vietnam flashbacks here or anything, but I think one of your more impressive things is you managed to get a game abandoned as well at Cove Rangers.
Oh yeah.
Oh, like the first game at Balmoral as well against Aberdeen.
Crazy.
You managed to get it abandoned.
Crazy, I know.
Tell us about that if you can, by the way.
Yeah, I mean that was
just reading about it. I was thinking,
it was a real low point. It was a scary point, The day of the World Cup final as well. It was just one of those crazy days. 2018. I just signed for Cove, so obviously going from Peterhead to Cove, it was a no-brainer for me at the time. Again, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of my pals from Aberdeen were there. It was a special, unique thing. Ryan was there, Scott was there, Mitch, Jamie Masson, Blair Ewell, all these players. Fraser Fivey wasn't there initially, but ended up coming. So yeah, all these guys, Stuart McKenzie, I could go on. So at the time, it just made sense, and the club were so desperate to get to the leagues, and adding my experience, I felt helped that. They signed me, Blair Ewell, and Jordan McRae in that summer, and it really made the difference in the end. Not just us three, but as the whole group, we managed to get over the line. But yeah, initially, so I'd signed with Cove, and again, it was the Viaplay Cup competition was on, but obviously the stadium was opening, which was another massive thing for moving. This new stadium was brilliantly opened in Aberdeen. It was local and blah blah blah. And then we played, but we actually played the Saturday. It was our first game in the Viaplay. I'm sure it was. We played Inverness away. Now we knew the opening of the stadium was a Sunday, and it was against Aberdeen. McInnes was there, massive crowd, etc. It was a beautiful sunny day. So we played the Saturday at Inverness, and I'd actually tweaked my ankle. I got a bad one at Inverness. I should never have been involved in the Sunday, but maybe me. I wanted to play. I wanted to be involved, and I came on at half time. And literally within 3-4 minutes, the ball's flicked round the corner. I just went up my header and kind of flicked it to the side. And with Andy Constantine, he's caught me right in the side of the temple. Mm-hmm. And then next thing, literally, like Mitch was straight over me at the time. Like the Aberdeen doctors, the Cove doctors at the time, physios, everyone was straight over me. And yeah, I was knocked out and kind of fitting on the pitch, which was brutal. I don't remember too much of it. So yeah, the next thing I can remember was being in the ambulance on the way to hospital, and I got to hospital, and obviously they abandoned the game and everything. The ambulance was on the pitch, and then it was out, and luckily I got a CT scan straight away, and they just put it down to kind of really bad concussion, serious concussion. So yeah, touch wood, I was really lucky. Of the outcome, and yeah, I joked after, and in the weeks after, it was one way to get a bit of publicity to the stadium and Cove Rangers, for the new ground. But yeah, that
guerrilla marketing is its finest.
Yeah, that was tough to start the Cove journey like that, but obviously again it worked well in the end of that season.
How was your road to recovery? Because I think maybe that's something that people in their day-to-day lives, if they get injured in whatever sense, would probably be quite interested here, because it's not your usual going to be on crutches for the next couple of weeks. No, it was a head knock, so how was that for you? Was it frustrating that you had to wait to get back out on the pitch?
Yeah, it was awful, to be fair, and I think I don't think any of us are great with change when so much was changing in my life. I was going from Peterhead, which was all I ever knew, to Cove, and yes, it was familiar to me because I had a lot of my pals there and people I knew, but it was all different. And then to have that literally stop my life for 2 weeks, I had to move back home, mum and dad, and really not look at phones or anything for a couple of weeks. And it was just one of those where, and it probably, the concussion protocols probably weren't even what they are now. You know what I mean? It's probably got more and more serious as the years went on. I remember Raul Jimenez had a massive one at Arsenal, did he, for Wolves? And that was kind of a really bad one at the time, and that wasn't far after. But again, it's even changed since then. However, yeah, that recovery, and it wasn't actually the physical recovery. I think physically wise, I actually was okay. I was just desperate to get back because I wanted to play, because I'd signed for Cove and I was sitting the sides now, not through my own fault, obviously. But yeah, I think I was off work for 2 weeks. I was stuck inside for 2 weeks. Really, it was really poor. But I think, again, looking back, Cove were probably decent with me. I trained quite light coming back, not long after the 2 weeks. If it had been 2 weeks, I would be surprised. I missed the rest of the Viaplay Cup games, or the Betfred Cup games. But the first time league game was against Fraserburgh, and I didn't expect to be in the squad. I got to the ground, I was just going to do some running and that, and John was like, "Oh, we'll put you on the bench, but we won't use you," kind of thing. The manager at the time, John Sheridan, and with 20 minutes to go or so, he's like, "You ready to go on?" And you kind of say no, like, and at this time it wasn't like anything was signed off for me to not play or play. And yeah, then the first ball comes in, I've headed away a corner, and I think you heard the whole stadium be like, "Oof." Yeah. But yeah, from that moment, there was no real issue physically. It was the mental side though, because you're always doubting yourself. Is there something that's not right or holding me back or that? But I think it took me a wee while to get over that and all the change that was going on. But yeah, coming to the end, once we were into the mix of that season, it was kind of took care of itself. I just wanted people to stop talking about it, to be honest, because I don't mind now, to be fair, so don't worry. But at the time, it was like such a big event, and it was obviously like national news at the time. The amount of messages I had on my phone, I've never seen anything like it. And again, guys like Derek McInnes, Andy Constantine, that they were so good that day and that week. They came round to see me at my house and all that stuff. So yeah, I can't fault anything that happened from the event.
Yeah, I broke my elbow nearly 3 years ago tripping over a basketball, trying to do like a Sergio Busquets type drag back. Having to go back to school on the Monday, but it was when Scotland played Czech Republic at the Euro as well. Just everybody, what's this?
What have you done?
I go in, I'm like, right, Miss, we're ready, let's do this. And she's like, whoa, what's that? And I'm like, having to repeat the absolute redneck of a story that it was. I couldn't jazz it up any more than that. It wasn't even a football as well. Do you know what I mean? It was Anyway, you went back to Peterhead.
Yeah.
You were assistant manager before you even get the look in at being interim manager, weren't you? When did the whole coaching conversation come up?
Yeah, so when I came back to Peterhead in 2021, obviously we played Cove in our first game, then football got shut down again for like 3-4 months. And then end of that season, that was a COVID season, so played a lot of football after that, to be fair. Was playing quite regularly, but then got injured a bit and came back pre-season. It probably wasn't as fit as I could have been, and then the manager strengthened the squad. We actually had a really good squad. And Cy Ferry was the coach and done a lot of stuff. Obviously, Cy, really well known in Scottish football now, and had a great relationship with him. He obviously played with us.
My nemesis.
Played with us since 2015 at Peterhead. So he was becoming a coach, and then obviously he was leaving at the end. I think it was 2022 season. He was going to Broomhill, and they were going to do their managerial stint and whatever they were going to do. So he was leaving, and yeah, Jim just approached me to be kind of first team coach, and that was something that I was delighted to take the opportunity at. I think it was only 28, 29 at the time, so it came a bit unexpected, but what I feel is a strength of mine is really being a team player, and I would like to say I was kind of doing that role in the dressing room off the pitch anyway, so it was just taking that to the next level. So, and then what happened after that, I don't think anyone could kind of expect. Jim left after 10 years, and Davey came in, and then Davey left, and here we are.
Yeah. The fact though that then you were an assistant manager, I feel like it's a position that's always overlooked. And being a Celtic man myself, it's all, when something goes wrong, it's always, rather than looking at the manager, it's right, was John Kennedy, was Gavin still down there with his laptop? Surely if they failed so badly under Lennon, they've got to go as well.
Yeah.
But assistant manager as a position, I feel so misunderstood, because I don't think anybody really knows what they do. So what did you feel then with your duties, still being a player, and then what did you learn from it as well?
Yeah, it was a bit unique. I think he had Davy Nicholl is probably like out and out assistant manager, and I would have just said I was maybe the kind of the next in line kind of coach there. They were obviously a unique team. Again, it was different for me because I'd played under them both, so it wasn't like I was just coming in as a coach or as an assistant coach or whatever. Like, I think because I'd played under them, I would always just leave them to it, to be honest, I would never get involved in that kind of things. But from a point of view now, I see the input and the amount of work that the likes of our assistant, Jamie McNee, puts into what we do and contribute as a team.
in terms of your objectives and goals that were set at the start of the season, do you feel that because you were rookies coming into this game, of management, were they maybe lowered for you a wee bit? And I'm presuming you've went above and beyond everything that was asked of you at the start of the season.
Yeah, I think obviously there'd not been change at the club for so long, and then Jim had been there for 10, almost 11 years. And then he left in, I think it was October, November last year, and then David Robertson came in, and it never worked out, with what he had. And I think it wasn't almost like next in line, but me and Ryan were always keen to make that step, not stepping on toes or anything. But again, we were two of the senior figures in the dressing room, probably senior figures on the pitch, and really there was nobody else that in that interim spell that you would get any value of taking in, so we did it in on the interim basis until basically the April, and then we were lucky enough to kind of preach ourselves and our plans. We really did a lot of homework. We worked really, really hard and put across the board what we felt we could bring, a uniqueness, and a new fresh feel, which we felt the club needed after so long, and build on the foundations that were there. The potential of the club's unbelievable, and again, everyone at the club is excellent, and can reach whatever potential it really wants to. But I think, objective wise, I think obviously the aim is to bounce straight back. Unfortunately, we've not won the league. But again, that's also got to be taken in realism. We were almost the worst team in Scotland last year. We had a turnover we added kind of 14 players initially in the summer. We've added probably 4 or 5 since then, whether on loan or signed. So it's a massive turnover of players, and not something that we would encourage all the time, So to flip that mentality, to flip I mentioned support and engagement, like the board have been brilliant. The chairman, the vice chairman, the staff, we've got a new general manager, Jordon Brown, who's worked side by side with us, and her team, she's got people we speak to on a daily basis at the club. So I think it's definitely not just down to me and Ryan. We've also recruited good players as well, and the benefit of building what we had, and really because we'd been in that Cove dressing room where we knew it was such a importance to have a good team off the pitch, and it helped on it. And because of the toxic kind of end to the season we'd had before, or the changes we'd had before, we needed to get that right, and we felt we've got that right off the pitch, and it gives you the best chance on it.
Yeah, I was reading, must have been a fairly recent article about you've been labelled draw merchants, as in you seem to score a lot of goals, but for however long you haven't quite strung a lot of wins together.
Yeah.
However, I did do my stats research, as I maybe alluded to earlier. You've scored 90. You've scored 8 goals from beyond the 90-minute mark, which is more than the top 4 combined. In terms of being the best team at home as well, when you take a lead, you haven't lost when you took a lead.
Yeah.
So what do you think's been behind that? Because for me that implies you've got a very strong fighting spirit. How have you been able to get that into the guys? And plus as well, he's a young manager, and I don't want to be ageist here or anything, but you think maybe a young manager, guys maybe don't react to that as well as a Dick Campbell who's in his 70s. But have you been able to instill that?
No, 100%. It's down to the, like you said, fighting spirit, but it's the culture within the dressing room and the group we've built. We've quite often been in positions we don't want to be in, but you say you're right there. The amount of goals we've scored, it's 90 minutes and beyond is unbelievable. We've came from 1-0 down, we've came from 2-0 down, we've came from 3-0 down, and that's just since January. So I think that's really shown in the spirit, and no one can question, which was probably often questioned last year. Players that were at Peterhead, were they at Peterhead for the right reason? Were they giving everything for the club? And that's something that we've instilled. And I think the group challenge each other. That isn't just down to me and Ryan. It's down to senior players in the group. It's down to young players in the group. It's down to lone players in the group. The whole combination we had to get right. And you're never going to get it right every time, but we feel we've got the majority right. And and you touched on there that it's something big, like when we present a team for a home game, we do it on the screen and we put a PowerPoint up, and we always throw these wee carrots at the boys, and something that we're massive on is scoring first. When we do score first, like you said, we've not lost a game, and I think we went on to win, if not all, pretty much most of them. So again, that's big.
Yeah, you've drawn
a few.
Only drawn twice, yeah. 15 wins, 2 draws.
So key moments in games was massive as well. We made that clear, and again, of course you need your bit of luck as well. But when you've got the structure there, you've got the culture, you've got people know their roles, they know it's clear. I think we've made it clear our squad. No one weakens the squad. We've got the importance of a team that starts the game and the importance of the team that finishes the game equal. So all that things combined is really good. But it hopefully gets a concrete result at the end of the season, which is still really our aim.
Yeah, just a couple more for you, Jordan. I don't want to take away for your preparation for tomorrow, mate.
No worries.
You need to enjoy what you've got left of the week, all right? Personally, for you though, like how have you been able to balance, working your full time job and not only playing for Peterhead but actually co-managing Peterhead as well?
Yeah, it's tough when you throw a new job, a day-to-day job into that at the end of October last year, and a 6-month-old daughter. It's not been easy, to be honest. I think the missus would tell you otherwise, but no, she's been brilliant, and the wee one's been brilliant, and the family support, all that's excellent, And I think, to be honest, that first few months was tough when I was changing job, and obviously the wee one was being born, which I say it was tough. It was unbelievable. It was the best thing in the world, but I think when I'm doing that, I think up to Christmas, between that spell, and we were also having a bit of a sticky spell with Peterhead. We had so many injuries. Results weren't quite going our way. We weren't scoring first in games. We were losing goals at key moments. We weren't scoring last minute equalisers. So I think that period was really tough. But see, since New Year, like I've managed to create a real good balance. Like I say, I've settled into a job here that I'm working from home Monday, Friday, so that gives that good balance. I get to see my daughter in that morning. Tuesday, Wednesdays I'm away training after work, so you're away the whole days. But the end of that week you've got a bit of relief to work from home on a Friday and spend some family time, and then obviously depending on where the game is on a Saturday, you get to. And again, I think when a lot of people ask this question to me and Ryan, quite often, how do you do it all? And I think management is 24/7, but at the same time, like since I've been part-time footballer, it's all I've ever known, to work and do part-time football. So it's always been a big, and I'm a massive one on gym, recovery, fitness. So I've never been one just to sit around. So I've always been busy. So I think being busy is just something that we've just embraced it, and we've got a good balance going on. Like I say, the support team we've got behind us at the club and at home is great also.
Yeah, well, based off of just what you've said there about your Fridays, I'm absolutely honoured to have taken an hour of your time, Jordan. Listen, I'll ask you the final question, as I always like to ask.
Yeah.
Let's say we sit down in exactly a year's time, 19th of April, 2025, playoff. It's playoff race time, it's title race time, relegation fight time, whatever. And I ask you one question, which is, Jordan, have you done a good job since we last spoke? You tell me yes, and then I'd ask you why. So what for you in a year's time is a good job?
I think it is difficult to look ahead, isn't it? But everyone's got to have that ambitions and dreams. And I think if I was sitting here next year and we're stabilised in League One, I'd be absolutely over the moon. If we weren't stabilised in League One and it had went against us in the playoffs in the next few weeks, then I'd hope to be sitting here with at least a title race still ongoing in League Two, and a good strong core of a squad fighting fit and available, and a positivity about the club. If we can increase that numbers that you said there about Peterhead coming to games and things like that, all the engagement, if we can give a few more young boys or lone boys their senior debuts and they can impact the squad and things like that. I think one of them two options I would bite your hand off for. Obviously, the stabilising in League One would be ideal because we'd have been successful in the playoffs, but we know how hard that will be. And the first target is obviously finishing second in this league, and that we've got 3 games to do that, and it's in our hands.
Yeah, I've always loved that question, just on the basis that you actually do get very different answers from it all. Like Pat Scullion there at East Stirling gave me quite a numerical one. He was like, right, we want to hit this many wins, or we want to be here in the table, and I thought, right, interesting. Whereas Stuart Petrie was just like, we're in the Championship next season, and I'm like, well, there you go. Listen, Jordan, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been lovely to break down a new language barrier from the northeast language to down here in Glasgow.
Is that all right? You didn't need any translations of that? You were all right?
Well, I had Kyle Julius, who's a basketball coach over in Canada, and I think we got through it without any kind of. Say that again for me. I even had a chat with him on the phone, and he was quite, very receptive. But listen, mate, you enjoy what you've got left here Friday. Spend it with that daughter of yours, and hopefully a nice win for you tomorrow, mate. Right?
Thanks very much, mate. Been a pleasure, and any time.